Very odd behavior indeed. A very demented Donald Trump keeps posting photographs of himself pointing his finger at Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries, almost like a schoolyard bully. This is how Donald Trump is behaving right now as the government has shut down. Also in that photo, you see the Trump 2028 hat. Apparently, that's all Donald Trump was talking about during that meeting with Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Democratic Senate Leader Chuck Schumer. Do you like my Trump 2028 hat? When I previously spoke with California Governor Gavin Newsom, he said that Donald Trump just repeatedly was talking about the Trump 2028 hat. This is a very deranged human being, and it's not funny at all as he talks about being dictator for life, especially as Americans are suffering by this shutdown that Donald Trump forced. We're getting bad job numbers this morning as well. What we learned in this Trump economy from the ADP private payroll numbers that just came in is that U.S. private sector businesses lost 32,000 jobs in September. That's far below the expected gain of 51,000 per payroll processor ADP. And then the August private payroll numbers were revised down by 57,000 to negative 3,000. So a big drop there as well. We're seeing small and medium-sized businesses suffer the biggest job losses. And I'm sure you all know, just whether it's yourself or people you're friends with or just people who you're talking to, the job market right now is in a condition that we normally see during recessions and great recessions. It is absolutely frozen, and it is not in a good situation. So you had all of the kind of MAGA Republican leaders go on the various kind of state regime Fox shows and went on other corporate news, and they tried to spin this government shutdown as, you know, the Democrats' fault. Or, I mean, here you had J.D. Vance moments ago, and he was on state regime media, Fox, and they were talking about the meeting. It's a very serious meeting, right? It should have been a very serious meeting between Donald Trump, Republican leaders in the House and Senate, MAGA Mike Johnson, Senator Thune, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, and Democratic Senate leader Chuck Schumer, right? Like, we expect it to be handled with the seriousness to avoid a shutdown, and Democratic leaders showed up with a level of seriousness there. And J.D. Vance and the state regime media hosts over here are all like, but did you like the Trump 2028 hats? How funny is that? How funny are the Trump 2028 hats? Folks, this is not normal behavior. Like, this is not how adults should be behaving. But this is the Trumpification of a significant portion of our media ecosystem, you know, and right now, you know, how these right-wing politicians behave. It's like, it's not funny. It's not even humorous. Like, it's immature. It's grotesque. Just watch for yourself. Here, play this clip.
So can you give us some insight into what they talked about, maybe how we can come to a compromise?
And the hats.
The Trump trolling them with 28 hats.
Yeah, thank you, Lawrence. That's the most important part. There were also the Trump 2028 hats, which I think made the majority or the minority leader in both the House and the Senate very uncomfortable.
So then they put MAGA Mike Johnson on ABC with George Stephanopoulos. And George Stephanopoulos asks MAGA Mike Johnson, so as we approach this shutdown, Donald Trump was posting deep fake videos, AI videos of Hakeem Jeffries wearing a sombrero and having a mustache and mariachi bands. And then Chuck Schumer was given AI kind of fabricated things that he was saying. Like, do you think that this is how the president of the United States should be dealing with things, you know, before a shutdown? Or is this how shutdown negotiations are handled in the White House? Is this when Americans are about to have their Affordable Care Act premiums double or triple? Is this how you think discussions happen at a high level? Like, is this, you're okay with this? Watch the response.
Let me ask you about President Trump. He had another deep fake video overnight. How does that help the cause of getting a deal and opening the government?
Look, the president uses social media for humor. He makes jokes. He does lots of things.
What the president did in showing leadership, though, 2 days ago, was he brought in Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries to meet with me and Leader Thune in the Senate to try to work this out. He gave them unlimited time they had in the Oval Office, and they would not come to the table to do exactly, George, what they themselves have said repeatedly over and over and over.
And he goes, oh, that's just what we're like. It's humorous. It's funny. And by the way, I think that there's a time and a place for humor, right? The White House Correspondents' Dinner where the press show up and you can have self-deprecated humor. There's times where humor, not by the way, Donald Trump canceled that, right? He doesn't show up to that because he can't take people doing jokes or roasting him right now. There are times and place for jokes, but when we're talking about people losing their health care and government shutdowns, this isn't funny behavior. Like, grow up, like literally just act like a grown-up, because Americans right now are living paycheck to paycheck and they're trying to figure out how they're going to be able to support themselves and their families. And you posting AI images of Democratic leaders wearing sombreros and having mustaches and I guess making fun of Mexican people, or I don't know what you're even trying to do there. Like that's not what is called for, especially right now at this moment and ever. Then you have MAGA Mike Johnson. He went on state regime media and he said, actually, I think that this shutdown's an opportunity for us. This could be great because it's like giving Donald Trump the keys to the kingdom. And now Trump can do whatever he wants as a result of the government shutdown. So don't you think that MAGA Mike's just kind of giving the whole game away right here? Here, play this clip.
President Trump has said, he could use this as an opportunity to further cut government and turn some of those temporary furloughs into permanent job cuts. Speaker, can you assess what you're expecting in terms of the job cuts and how severe they could be?
Yes, the president and I have talked about this at great length. While a shutdown is very damaging for real American people who depend upon government services, it can provide an opportunity to downsize the scope and the scale of government, which is something that we've all always wanted to do. And so in a way, Chuck Schumer has now handed the keys to the kingdom to the executive branch under President Trump to do some things that we would not otherwise be able to do because we would never get Democrat votes for them. Now, Russ Vought is in charge, as you know, of the Office of Management and Budget, and it is his responsibility to look at all of this and make very difficult choices. He gets to decide now what services are essential, what programs and policies should be continued, and which would not be a priority for taxpayers. That is what is about to happen, and Chuck Schumer has allowed that. And so from his political perspective, it's a pretty massive backfire. And there's a real opportunity for government to work more efficiently and effectively for the people if those decisions are made.
Well, I mean,
Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. It's easier than ever for someone to look up your address, phone number, or even your family members' names online, and that information being out there could have real consequences. With Delete Me, you can protect your personal privacy or the privacy of your business from doxing attacks before sensitive information can be exploited. Hey, as someone with an active online presence, privacy is very important to me. I've seen friends get harassed simply because their info is way too easy to find, and that's why I take this seriously. Delete Me removes your personal data from hundreds of data broker websites so you can take back some control. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/Meidas and use promo code Meidas at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/Meidas and enter code Meidas at checkout. That's MEIDAS. That's joindeleteme.com/Meidas. Code Meidas.
And then there's some pushback from George Stephanopoulos on the ABC interview, where Stephanopoulos correctly states that the Democratic proposal is designed to prevent millions of American citizens from losing their health insurance. That's literally what it says. It has nothing to do with helping migrants on Medicare or Medicaid. They're not allowed to be on Medicare and Medicaid. And here's Mike Johnson's response. He goes, that's an absurd statement. And George Stephanopoulos goes, I'm reading the plan. It's an accurate statement. Here, watch this.
This morning, the Democratic proposal is designed to prevent millions of Americans from losing their health insurance, losing Medicaid coverage, or paying higher health care premiums. Why are you against that?
That's an absurd statement what you said there. Let's be clear about what happened last night, George. No, George, let me tell you what happened last night. Everybody can go and review the facts for themselves. 44 Senate Democrats voted to reject a clean, nonpartisan continuing funding resolution to keep the United States government open. The Democrats said instead that they wanted to give health care to illegal aliens instead of keeping critical services provided for the American citizens. That's what happened, plain and simple. Every Democrat in the House, except one, voted against the clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan in nature. There are no policy riders on it that Republicans favored. It's exactly what Chuck Schumer and other Democrats voted for in March. But they've changed their tune. They changed their tune because Chuck Schumer is having political problems right now. That's just a simple fact, and everybody knows it. He's trying to outrun the far left portion of his base, so he's decided to inflict pain on the American people.
Here are
That's
facts.
the reality of what we're facing.
Here are the facts. The proposal does not provide health care for illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants cannot buy health care under the Affordable Care Act. They cannot receive health care subsidies.
No.
Illegal immigrants are ineligible for Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Health Program. The Democratic bill does not make them eligible.
It does, actually, because what it does is it unwinds the changes that Republicans put into the big, beautiful bill, the big signature legislation that we passed and signed into law on July 4th. That has been very successful in shoring up Medicaid for the people who are actually eligible to receive it. What we did in the bill, and the CBO just verified this 3 weeks ago, the Congressional Budget Office, the nonpartisan arbiters of everything up here, they said that those provisions have helped to reduce premiums. Why? Because we got ineligible recipients off of Medicaid, illegal aliens, and able-bodied young men who are riding the wagon who are not eligible to be there. Medicaid is intended for specific populations of U.S. citizens. That is young, pregnant women who are down on their luck, the disabled and the elderly. Those resources are being drained from those folks, and so we fixed that. We reduced fraud, waste, and abuse in the program. Chuck Schumer's counterproposal on the CR would reverse that. That is a simple fact.
The CBO did not say that about illegal immigrants. You've made your point right there. Let me ask you about President Trump.
So then Stephanopoulos asks MAGA Mike Johnson, well, what was your reaction? What do you think about Donald Trump speaking to those generals and admirals yesterday and saying that he wants to unleash the United States military, already has, but that the wars that they're going to be fighting are going to be the wars within. He's going to fight wars against Los Angeles and San Francisco and Chicago and Democratic cities and in Democratic states. What do you think about that, MAGA Mike? And MAGA Mike's like, look, I run the House. I don't really listen to those speeches. I didn't hear any of that. I don't really know what you're talking about. Here, play this clip.
The president also said at the Pentagon yesterday that he wants American cities to be used as training grounds for the American military. Is this the highest and best use of the U.S. military, and is this the right way to train them?
I don't serve in the Pentagon. I run the House of Representatives. And what we need to be talking about today is real harm that the American people are going to feel because of what Chuck Schumer is doing. Let me tell you what's going to be
Well, hold on a second. As Speaker of the House, do you answer the question? As Speaker of the House, do you believe it's appropriate to use American cities as training grounds for the U.S. military, calling those people in the American cities the enemy within? I'm asking you, as Speaker of the House, do you think that's appropriate?
I'm not going to comment on your characterization of what the president said. I didn't get to see that speech because I was a little busy yesterday. Well, you can take his quotes out of context, which you often do, and I don't think that's fair to the...
because at the same time MAGA Mike said that, what we learned is it seems that in exchange for the Qataris giving Donald Trump a jet, here's what Donald Trump's basically agreed to for the United States to give NATO-like security guarantees to Qatar. So we bailed out Argentina. We gave them $20 billion for them to then undercut our soybean farmers here and sell their soybeans cheaper to China to undercut American farmers after your taxpayer dollars went to bail out Argentina because they have a right-wing MAGA puppet leader there named Javier Milei. So they have that. And now Donald Trump saying, as part of his initiative to end the war in Gaza, this is how they claim it, as part of his initiative to end the war in Gaza, they go, this is an unprecedented security agreement between the U.S. and Qatar. The United States will regard any armed attack on the territory, sovereignty, or vital infrastructure of the state of Qatar as a threat to peace and security in the United States. In the event of such an attack, the United States will take all appropriate and lawful measures, including diplomatic, economic, and if necessary, military measures in order to defend the interests of the United States and the state of Qatar and to restore peace and stability. So Donald Trump didn't do that for Ukraine. Okay. Donald Trump has really not done that for NATO nations, as Russia has engaged in provocative actions over Poland and other countries. And Donald Trump is invading American cities, but everybody, Qatar gave him a private 747 jet. So now they get NATO-like security guarantees. It's that easy to buy your way into the United States. I think that is utterly, utterly pathetic right there. But you tell me what you think. Then you have J.D. Vance going on the morning shows and he continues to lie. And J.D. Vance is like, initially, what they said is that they were going to shut the government down because Donald Trump's a dictator. Then they're saying they want to give all of this health care to illegal aliens. Here, play this clip.
And obviously, the longer this drags on, the worse that it is for the American people. So we are where we are. And to your point, what do Senate Democrats ask for? Well, initially, they said that they wanted to shut down the government because Donald Trump was a dictator. Okay, that's absurd. Then they said they wanted to shut down the government because they wanted hundreds of billions of dollars for health care benefits for illegal aliens. That, of course, is also absurd. And now they're saying they just want to work on ensuring that Americans have low-cost health care. Well, I agree with them. Of course, we all want to ensure that Americans have low-cost health care. So let's work together on that.
And can I just address a question? Like, I mean this seriously. You know, the Democratic plan does not give undocumented migrants Medicare or Medicaid or the Affordable Care Act tax credit extensions. It has nothing to do with that. But take a step back, though. So the MAGA position, just to be clear, is let's say that there's an undocumented migrant who's been here, say, over 10, 15 years, is contributing to this country. Let's say they're a roofer. Let's say they're working on a construction project, building homes, contributing to the United States economy, or say they're working on farms and they're contributing to the American economy. And let's just use the roof example. They fall off the roof, they're on the ground, they are bleeding out, and you can bring them to the hospital and their lives will be saved. And they'll go on and have a great life. They have families. Just to be very clear, the MAGA position is that the individual who is injured should not go to a hospital and they should die. And these MAGAs who call themselves Christians are okay with that individual not depriving a human being of medical care, letting them bleed out because they're undocumented. I'm sorry, I'm not okay with that. Like, I'm personally not okay with that. Like, I would want the person to be treated. I'd want the doctor to be paid for treating them because we're human beings. We're here for a very short period of time on this planet Earth together. Why wouldn't we just be decent people? You want to watch people die just because of the color of their skin or because they were undocumented? I'm not okay with that anyway, you know, but that's what the MAGA Republicans seem to be saying. So why don't they just say that? Why don't they say that they want to see people die while they call themselves Christians and pro-life? I mean, to me, that's one of the most screwed up parts about this about this thing in general. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers, and thanks for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.